Importing a user-defined module. So that is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to import this module, which is user-defined. I defined this. This is not already pre-built in the standard library. And then we're going to be able to access all of its features within. Now, before we can import, I want to cover some rules on what you can or cannot import. So number one is that you cannot import just any module in any location in your file system. It has to be in a specific location or a specific set of locations. So these set of locations are called the path. So any module that appears in the path can be imported into your notebook. Okay, so I want to show you this path. You actually have to access it with the sys built-in or standard library. So if I import sys and I do sys.path, this will be a list of all the locations that are where Python will look to find modules to import. Okay, so the first one is the location right now where this current notebook is. So this notebook is located right here. Yours should be a similar location. And this is also known as the current working directory. So it's just the all of these are directories, by the way. That just means a folder in your file system where to look, right? So if we go back over here to the file system view, it doesn't show the full path, but this does tell you that we are in this module 15, Python modules directory, and any other modules that would appear over here, like anything that ends in .py, would be able to be imported. Now, we can't import any other modules that were created in these other parts of the course, just the ones that are in module 15, because that's where the notes, that's where our current notes are. Okay, so let me go through some of these other locations so you can understand them. So what Python does is it looks one at a time through each of these locations, and if it finds a module that has that name, say import module name, it will import that module. It begins at the top, so the order does matter here, and by default, the current working directory is in the path first. So this is the first location. All right, so I'm not sure why a zip file is here, but this is actually where the standard library is, by the way. So it's in lib/python 3.8. This I'm not sure. These might be some dynamically loaded or something. This might be where other Python standard library is located. This empty space, so just a empty string, I should say, is also the same as just the current working directory. So if you see the just an empty string, it just stands for the current working directory. This site packages. All right, so this is where the third-party libraries are located. So they're in a slightly different location than just where the standard library is. And I'm not sure this is specific to IPython, which is sort of behind what's running the Jupyter Notebook. So I'm not exactly sure where these, what is in here. But I do know this is the current working directory. This is the standard library, and this is the third-party packages. So those are the most important ones. Now, our simple module is located, like I said, in our current working directory, so we can import it directly. We have created other modules. Say if I go to module 8, writing entire programs, there's a couple of Python files. These are technically modules, and you can import them. We will not, but you can import them. If you change the path, so you can't import them directly, you have to change the path. You'd have to, notice this is a Python list. You can just append a file location, so the next one, and then Python will look in all of those locations. So you can change how Python, where it looks. Okay, we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna stick with our current working directory with the defaults. So you never have to actually look at this path really. This is only if you have a very specific, use case where you need to import things from other places in your file system. Usually you don't. You're just going to import things that are already in your current working directory. That is the by far the most common thing. So let me go back over there, and let's go ahead and just import it. So what you do is very simple. You just import and put the module name. You don't use .py. So we'll import simple module like this, and it has found it. And if I look at the type of simple module, well, it is a module. So now I can start using this. So if I do dot and then tab, you can see that all of these things are available to use in our program now. So everything that was defined in here is available to me. Now, a couple of things that I want to show here is that, see this math and random modules, I imported them, but these are variable names. I can actually access them here like this. So I can access the math module through here and do dot and then tab and get all of the math functionality. Now, this is not something I recommend you do. It's something actually you should avoid doing. This is just a product of, I've imported it here. So math is now like a variable name, like author is a variable name, add is a variable name, sub is a variable name, underscore secret is a variable name. These are all variable names, and everything you define in this module is accessible with dot notation. It's just bad practice, or maybe not bad practice, but not best practice, to use modules that have been imported from another module. We typically don't do, or at least the ones that are the standard library. We just import, if we want to use them, we just import them directly into our program where we're at. Okay, so I want to cover so the string author, let me keep going back and forth over here. So there is the author, is just a string that I defined, right, to equal my name. And so I can access that, and now I get the string Ted Petru. I can access this favorite number as well. Let's just go ahead and do that. Right, so that's the number 4. Now, if I do dot tab and I look for this simple module and I try to find this underscore secret, I'm not going to find it. This is because this is a private variable name. Nothing is technically private in Python, so you can always access it. It's just not meant for public use. So really, whenever you create a variable that begins with an underscore, you're going to use it just in this module. It's really not meant for other users to use. You don't want to expose this, variable name to them. Here it's just set to a string, so it's not really that important. But you can access it if you do underscore and then I press tab, and then I can find it. So now the Jupyter Notebook will pop it up. So there's underscore secret, and now I can actually get that string or whatever this was, assigned to. So so in Python, there's nothing that's technically private that you cannot access. In other languages, they do have private variables where you just cannot access them publicly, like I'm doing here. Python allows you to access them, but this is just by convention that an underscore is here. So the Jupyter Notebook says, all right, this is an underscore, not really meant to be accessed by public. I'm not going to show the user this in the drop-down menu. All right, so let's call some of the functions. Those are some of the regular variables that I have defined. So this add function, now I didn't write any documentation, so that's bad, but this just adds two numbers together. So 10 comma 20 will give me 30. Simple module dot, let's see, another one. We can divide two numbers, 10 comma 20. That'll give me a half. I also did one where I rolled some dice. So you just roll some, you can say 9 dice like this. It'll roll 9 dice and give you a list return. And then I did something called sum roll, where it'll roll, let's just say even more dice, and it'll sum them up and return that sum. Okay, so there's a few more functions in here. Let's look at, say, the Fibonacci sequence. And this will give you, let's just say I want the first 20 numbers in the Fibonacci sequence. It'll return that as a list. All right, so that is the basics for creating your own module and then importing it into somewhere else so that you can use it. Number one, wherever your working directory is, you create a .py file. And then inside that file, you just write your Python code. And then wherever you want to use that module, so whether it's another module or in a Jupyter Notebook, you can now import it with the module name, and then you have access to all of its features and functionality with dot notation. All right, so you will be in the project creating another user-defined module. So you'll have a lot of, you'll get more experience doing that yourself, not just working with this one. So that is coming up, and hopefully it'll be challenging and a lot of fun for everybody. All right, so that's it for importing a user-defined module.